a collaborative. I understood there was a collaborative nature to the making of Variety.
Well, first let me just say that I love cinema, and there's nothing I love more than to watch and to look. And I am interested in what's on the screen. You know, for me, that is the beginning, middle, and end. And I would, you know, if I didn't have that visual experience of watching, in a way, this being in a theater when the lights go out and the theater gets dark, and all of a sudden there's this moment before the first image comes on, and you're sitting in the dark with people that you can feel but you can't see, and there's nothing that excites me more than the moment before the first image comes on the screen. And it's a lot like a dream where you suspend a certain amount of belief, whether it's the story, whether it's the images themselves, but it's an incredible experience that really taps into the unconscious, and it's what excites me, I suppose, every time I sit, no matter what I'm going to see. I think the cinema is a place that allows you to tap into, as the surrealist said, the unconscious. It's a place of that. And so it would make sense that I'd be willing to explore in a movie like Variety, or wanting to explore that idea of the secret pleasure, looking through the peephole, the taboo of being able to watch another world where images of people interact and you get to be the voyeur in a way. So the mechanisms of cinema, the way in which the apparatus of cinema, the camera and the projector, the room itself, and what happens in that room and on the screen, between the viewer and the screen, and that almost the pleasure that one gets from that. And so when Laura Mulvey wrote her very famous essay called Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema, I think she changed the face of the way that we looked at representation. And it was in that discourse, in that moment in time, where I came up with the idea of Variety. So if you know that essay, or even if you don't, it's a pretty interesting piece. And even over time, where it posits that the pleasure in cinema, in conventional Hollywood narrative, is based on the centrality of the image of the female, there to be looked at and positioned as the object of the look, and the look being male, and based on this idea of a male spectator and the object of the look being female. And so a challenge to Laura, who I know very well, and I think falling, really 1981 I think I began the movie, and the piece was written in 79 I think, in the late 70s, was really a challenge because she always posited the male spectator was the central location of where that look was positioned. And I said, well, what about me? I like to look. I like the taboo. I'm not just, an image on the screen. I want to be the possessor of the look as well. And so from that came Variety, the story about a woman who follows a man. And rather than the kind of victimization of what happens in, say, film noir, a genre that I love and a genre that I wanted to imitate and did, but I allowed her to transgress that role and become the possessor of the look, so that while usually in film noir, while I love film noir because the sexuality of the female character is pretty interesting, it's a kind of, the women in film noir have a kind of unrestrained sense of sexuality, a dangerous sense of sexuality, and that attracted me, as it does still today. And that noir allowed me to sort of almost reverse that idea of the woman as object, and allowed her to become the voyeur. And where we expect vulnerability in a film noir, oh my God, something's going to happen to the female character. Whoa, she needs she needs to watch out. I never allowed that to happen. I gave Christine a kind of power of looking so that it reversed, in a way, the sensibility of noir and created a new way of thinking about that she becomes the voyeur, and we don't know very much about, he becomes the enigma to be tamed, which is usually reserved for the female character. So it was a kind of playful what if. It was to disrupt, to kind of undermine, subvert. I think in the 1980s, many of us were interested in subversion of traditional forms and turning things around and playing with what you expect versus what you're maybe going to see. And that's what you're talking about too, is perhaps the image on the screen allows you to see something other than the image on the screen. I don't know about that, but because for me, it is the image on the screen. My references are Fassbinder, Douglas Sirk, Michael Powell, The Red Shoes, and Peeping Tom. Movies that kind of push you. Hitchcock, of course. Pick Up on South Street, Sam Fuller. Those I could watch 5 movies a day and never be tired of seeing the next one and the next one and the next one. So I'm not interested so much in performance. For me, I'm interested in what is representation and how do we see, and how does what we see inform the way we think about life, or the way we think about, how media like movies represent or don't the life that we live.
I would just say about the film noir. I grew up watching old film noir on video cassettes with my brother, and for me it was always a somewhat alienating experience that I was always silent about, because as a queer male I never saw myself in the movie. And although Variety is about a woman pursuing heterosexual desire, I find that it's kind of, for me, a very liberating thing that I can project myself more easily into this film noir, and then that it's happening in this porno cinema that I assume is probably, or what I get the sense is it's probably they're showing heterosexual pornography, but from my experience...
Well, there are a lot of gay guys in there.
Exactly. My experience of going to the ABC
Whatever
porno theater
gets
in
your
Brussels,
heart.
it's a lot of men-on-men action in the room.
I understand what you're saying, but also I think that whatever, I don't know that